many times, as we see people and we get involved with people, entrepreneurship is something that people aspire to be, but they lack the knowledge needed to sustain in business, especially in our culture. I know for myself, where I grew up, entrepreneurship was not a thing. It was the hustle, it was the grind, and that kind of thing. But there was no conversation about financial literacy and how to sustain, or you can become your own boss. You can be successful on your own. And so, through the blessings of my life, I was able to climb and go through a lot of different channels. And my way of empowering and giving back is to put my money where my mouth was and start a business to help us go from wannabes to actual entrepreneurs.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think that's very, very clutch. We got to get away from being wannabes to the ones who's actually doing it. Thank you, Darlisa. Definitely. Let's pivot over to you, Carlton Hoskins. Tell us a little about yourself. What can the audience expect to hear from you today?
Well, like Darlisa, I just want to say thank you to the Collin County Black Chamber of Commerce for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it. My mission and my passion is always about helping business owners build sustainable businesses. And like Darlisa mentioned, in our communities, this type of information is not readily available or accessible. So I'm honored to be on this panel to be able to share some insights that can help people achieve that financial freedom and build wealth and build sustainable companies, because that at the end of the day, that's the objective. If we're not building our own wealth, then we are tied to someone else having control over our financial freedom. And so we want to be able to achieve that financial freedom. And you can't do it independently. You have to do it with a team, which is why there's a panel of people here speaking and not just one.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well said. Let's go over to you, Jamal Threlkel. Give us some insight about yourself. What can they expect from you today, sir?
Evening, everyone. I'm Jamal Threlkel. Like Nick said, no coincidence to see the last name. We are first cousins. I want to take some time to thank Collin County for this evening. And I'm the CEO and founder of Pride Financial here in Brentwood, Tennessee. Been in finance for over 10 years now. I've been in planning since 2013. Specialized with businesses and physicians and or business owners and physicians, and just looking forward to being an asset to today's conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I also do see Mark Howard was able to join us as well. So Mark, tell us about yourself. Give us a spiel of what can the people expect to hear from you today. Let's see, we can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry about that. I just got off the plane. Hey guys, Mark Howard, Momentum Wealth Strategies, president and founder. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys. I'm probably the elder statesman here, as you can see by the color of my beard. And I want to encourage you guys to take advantage of great opportunities like this. We didn't have internet and things like this back in my day to be able to share great ideas on how to build wealth, how to find finances, and how to grow your business through mentorship and SBA and things like that. So glad to be here and looking forward to answering some questions.
Wonderful, wonderful. So there you have it, audience. This is our panel for today. Wealth of knowledge, wealth of experts. So let's go ahead and kick it off. And I want to make this conversation very, very interactive with everyone. So feel free, let's just jump in. But the first question, when we all think about financial literacy, of course, a lot of us have had hesitations in regards to starting businesses, going after our aspirations, but more specifically to you all, how much knowledge is really required from a financial literacy standpoint in order to start a business? And walk us through your experience and how much you had when you first started versus where you're at today. Let's go with you, Carlton. Give me some thoughts about that.
Absolutely, Nick. And I think that's a great question. That's a great posture to start with when a person is considering entrepreneurship, understanding financial management and the financial literacy. I always like to start with stats so I can always base the content and the context of what I'm talking about around the facts of the industry. And what many people do not know is that since 1990, 76% of businesses fail before they get to year 10. There's approximately 32 million businesses in the US, and 84.6% of them actually generate less than $250,000 a year. Now, many people wouldn't think that. They would think they make way more money than that, but that's not the reality. And the reason why they're not generating more is not just finances alone. There's a compilation of issues: infrastructure, management, marketing, finance, and credit. But finance being in that piece becomes a very relevant piece, because if you don't understand the financial components of building a business, then you tend to build your business like you run your own personal credit, which leads to your personal credit. So if you're not able to understand budgeting your own household, taking care of your expenses and your bills, then managing an influx of income from the services that you provide is only going to cause you to further mismanage money and cause your business to collapse before it succeeds. And so having that financial literacy and understanding finances is one of the keys. And for me, Nick, specifically, I was fortunate. I was able to go to college. I was able to study and learn more about financial literacy before I started. But I know that the clients that I speak to every day, they haven't had that opportunity. So they lean hard on that education because they know it's going to support their growth in their business.
Absolutely. I love that. And what you said, understanding that over 70% of businesses fail because of this reason. And we have to ensure that we're getting the knowledge and the content out to the community so we can make sound decisions. And that's very, very important. What about you, Darlisa? What are your thoughts around that?
So I agree heavily with what Carlton mentioned. When starting a business, if you don't have money or haven't had exposure to money, it's definitely going to carry over into your business dealings. First and foremost, if you are the person that understands hustle, grind, and flow, and you are willing to put in the work to sustain a business, when that money starts to come in, you're not going to know how to manage that money. So even if you have a successful or feasible business model, if you're not understanding about how money works or the value of money, not to the dollar, but the value of what money can do for you, then you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage from a lot of different angles. Now, me personally, I didn't have a lot of money to start my business. However, understanding with the money that you have and knowing how to best utilize it, that is what helped me to actually grow my business. So I think money and the knowledge of how to effectively use money is very important versus just having a good gob of money, because I see clients, they may get a lump sum of money. That doesn't mean business success, right? Because again, it goes back to understanding how to best utilize money. So to answer that question from my end, no, you don't have to have a lot of money to start a business. However, how you treat money in your personal life will matriculate into how successful you are in business if you don't get proper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Of course, we want to make sure we take practical steps to supporting our business and not just take whatever we were inefficient in our personal life and then convert it to the business. Because once you start making the money, you want to make sure that you retain it and build sustainability from that. So Jamal, as a wealth management advisor, what are your thoughts in regards to how much financial literacy does someone really need to know before they start a business? And where were you? Walk us through that.
Yeah, I think I mean it's no limit on how much education you really should have on this, and it's something that you can constantly learn on. I think no matter what business owner you take, I think there's a certain level of humility that you eventually reach, and I think there's a certain level of knowledge that you always pursue. Just to kind of keep the same theme, the personal piece is very huge. If you can understand personal finances, I think that helps you when you walk into a business and or take that leap of faith. That way, you know how to keep it separate. That way, you don't have the business bleeding into the personal and the personal bleeding into the business and messing up business credit or messing up personal credit, just trying to launch and get off the ground and get some lift. So usually, if we have somebody that's just on the personal spectrum and they're looking to start a business, it kind of reflects like just a regular personal savings type of thing where if somebody has like one income coming into a household, then we're really going to shoot to have about 6 months of expenses readily available in cash. And then if there's a two income household, or maybe it's a single person and or single parent or so, and they have like a business that's bringing in profits, not the startup, but they do have a really reliable source, then we're probably looking at 3. But then if you do know like how much your inventory is projected to cost, if you know how much you may need to have as a starting investment for the business, we can add that into it. So there's a couple things, and then also it like researching a team, because when you get into the business world, eventually you run into some things where you may get deep in taxes and may want to involve a CPA or somebody that has a great background in accounting, or you get into some legal things, or now you got some acquisitions or something that's kicking in, and now it's time to bring in an attorney. So I think it's important for people to realize that there's a team that can be set up by you, and you just find the people that you work the best with, and run with that team.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all know that teamwork makes the dream work. And I really love that statement that you made, that not one person has to make sure that they know everything, but understanding that there are some resources out there that can assist you in that effort. Mark, I'm gonna tune over to you real quick. What are your thoughts around that in regards to how much knowledge does someone really need to have before they start that business? Is there a foundation where they need to start at? And walk us through where you were.
Yeah, I'd say that you definitely need to know the basics, but I don't want to overcomplicate business and business ownership and starting a business for folks. You basically are trying to sell whatever goods or services you have for more than it costs you to make it. And so if you have a great idea, I think there are a lot of people who get stifled by fear and am I going to be successful? And am I going to do this or do that? And I think take the nuggets of information that people have said on this call of get a team around you, understand and have a cushion of 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is of finances and working capital to lean on. But, for me, my first business was doing consulting for physicians to help them with their marketing. And so marketing was my background and they valued me for it. So I charged them, made a profit. Next, it went into franchising, where I helped people get into franchising for themselves. I negotiated a fee for what it would cost to get people into that. And, away you go. So don't overcomplicate it. There are so many people who had the dream and got stifled. Lean on other entrepreneurs who've done it, been there, done that, and gain some confidence from their encouragement, from their advice, and keep asking the questions of, hey, how did you do this? Because I started my first business with $0 and just got the first profit and then built from there. The next one, I took an SBA loan out. And then the last one, it was a partnership with 2 other companies where they infused some capital into the business. So there's a myriad of ways for you to start your business.
Wonderful. Definitely. And you brought up another point. You said this word we hear all the time, mentor. And I want to segue into a question in regards to how important is mentorship in the business space? When we talk about financial literacy, Jamal and Carlton, Darlisa, you all talked about this idea that, of course, we have to be able to research. We have to be able to understand what we're doing. We have to build sustainability. But how important is mentorship? Give us some feedback in regards to if I have to start my business with a set amount of dollars, or if I get to start my business with research with a mentor and guidance. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, the mentorship or the money? Where should people truly focus their attention on, or is there some type of balance in between? Darlisa, what are your thoughts around that?
So I'm going to say mentorship first, because those people will help you to find where the gaps are, where the opportunities are for maybe funding, maybe some contract work that you can pick up readily. And I use myself as an example. As I mentioned, I didn't understand entrepreneurship. I didn't know entrepreneurship. So you don't know what you don't know. So yes, I was good at doing X, Y, and Z, but I didn't know the language. I didn't know the industry. I didn't know the market. And so for me, I'm just a learner. I'm hungry for knowledge all the time. So I didn't have mentorship until I found some of the resources that were available out there. So you have so many organizations that will offer guidance for free. So I'm going to say start with that mentorship first. And mentorship does not equal cost per se. So if you align yourself with the right mentor and someone that's truly in the spirit of helping you to succeed and not, capitalize on the opportunity that they have in front of them, mentorship is your best bet because, again, as a good mentor, you should work to provide guidance where they can find funding, where they can get to a point where they are making revenue for their business before they acquire funding or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to go with mentorship first because that should help you guide your path.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we got one for mentorship. What about you, Jamal? Jump in there. Give us some thoughts around that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique for each person's situation. Like I think if you have an opportunity to have a mentor, I think it's very important to take what you want to do to them as much as you would like to share. Because I think as a business owner, there are certain things that you should probably keep to yourself until it's time to release that. But if you do have that trusted partner where you can have that mentorship, that mentor-mentee relationship, I think it's very important to go for it. But even if you don't, I think it's important for you to, and this is part of Ray Dalio that I'm still in here, but to set aside a set of principles for yourself that you can live by in your business and to have that accountability with yourself. Because I think a lot of businesses actually fail in that percentage that Carlton shared with us because so many business owners may get in their head and become too big of a thinker and not enough of a doer and just kind of go by the wayside and let things kind of take over. So you do want to have some kind of form of accountability, whether it's, the mentor, your spouse, employees, teammates, maybe it may just be you with your faith in your prayer closet. So it's like whatever you need, you want to make sure that you have that accountability. And I think that's going to be the part that kind of opens the door for everything else.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're definitely talking about balance, being able to have that balance between mentorship and being able to balance the financial piece through your own due diligence. What about you, Carlton? Give us some insight in regards to your perspective and what the audience can gain from that.
Well, I do agree with Darlisa, and I agree with Jamal. So there's that that's that mixed pot right there that happens, right? It's the chicken or the egg. Do you start the business? Do you get the mentor? And to Darlisa's point, and I may just be growing on her point, and this may not be what she meant, but sometimes having a mentor is simply picking up a book and reading it and getting an understanding of the direction of what businesses do, how do they work, how do they function, how do they apply to you. I think one of the main reasons business owners have a hard time is that they think they have a product and they want to sell it, right? And they just, and in their mind, they're not thinking about growing a business. They're thinking about making money. And so when your mindset is on making money, it's next to impossible to grow the business because the only focus that is there is the output, not the process to develop in order to build, like Darlisa says, sustainability. Sustainability comes through processes. And so if you're not reading things like Robert Kiyosaki or Blue Ocean Strategies or Sharon Lecter's Exit Rich, then these are things that support, though not having that context, then you just kind of fly off, right? You just think, oh, I could do this thing, so I'm going to go do this thing and make money. The goal in their mindset is make money. So in that mindset, they would probably never go for a mentor because to them, it's impacting my income. You're going to start taking money away from me because of a mentor. And like Darlisa said, it doesn't have to cost you. But if you're studying business ownership and you're getting that understanding, all of that study is your mentorship. All of those lessons you learn, whether you're watching Shark Tank, Profit, Mark Lemonis, whatever you're watching, this context plays as a mentor for you. It's not the mentor to the third degree that they're holding you accountable and they're making sure you're doing the things you're supposed to do. And they're providing you the step-by-step processes to get from A to Z. But that mentorship is the understanding, the concept of business. If you have that concept of business, then by all means, to Mark's point on the last question is get started. Get started because you're going to immediately fall into your market and you're going to find out, do they want what you have Are they willing to pay for what you have? And are you the right person to deliver it? Because you may have a great idea. You may be, just hypothetically, you could be out here trying to sell Honda Accords, right? And so now you're competing with this market, but for some reason, every time you try to sell a car, it doesn't work for you. Well, before you build a team of mentors and before you build all these plans and before you start trying to build a car shop, a car dealership, you've just realized that that's not your niche. That's not something you do. So I want to lean back on, even before you get the mentor, even before you get the money, even before you get the business, what's the purpose? And if you're not solving a problem that you're motivated to, then you're just selling a thing. You're just doing a service. And I'm sure Mark could speak to this very well because he talks about franchising. And franchising, many people think, well, I'm going to go do a Starbucks. I'm just going to go and make coffee. Well, if you're franchising, you're probably never going to touch that coffee pot. Your responsibilities are at a different level. So understanding business in itself, to me, is the mentor that leads to starting the business. And obviously, funding is not relevant when you're starting because you're just testing.
Wonderful. Oh, that's heavy. That's heavy. That's heavy. Hop in here, Mark. Hop in real quick in regards, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? We're leaning to mentorship. We're leaning on the money. Which one is it?
In terms of mentors, the answer is yes. You always want to surround yourself with people who care about you, who are smarter than you, and maybe more experienced than you. There's always something that you can learn, and so you want to have that board of directors around you who can help take you and your business to the next level, and you want to have that team all the time. It's often you hear it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I'd say it's almost not who you know, but who knows who you know. So you have to constantly be adding to that circle of mentors around you who can help you be accountable, as the panelists have said, and just help you to fill in the gaps of what you don't even know that you don't know. So always be looking out for those people who can help you take your business to the next level.
Wonderful, wonderful. I love that. And hopefully, audience, you all are getting some great content in regards to how you can use this information. I want to segue over back to the funding piece, because now we've been able to tap on, let's tap into some resources. Let's get some mentors. Surround yourself around some people who are doing what you want to do, or at least can give you some type of guidance. Many people who aspire to have a business are hesitant because they may be in debt or they may not be debt free. I want to talk about the importance of, is being debt free a prerequisite to starting a successful business? Give us some thoughts around that. Jamal, you want to hop in? Darlisa?
Jamal can go first. I went first last time.
All righty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's now, obviously you don't want to have the worst situation and then just go create some kind of mess. And before you jump into it, you do want to make sure you're not in some kind of state of denial for your personal finances, because you're just going to jump in and be in denial in the business. So if you can go ahead and confront some of those things up front, I think that's going to bleed into some success for the business. So there's not really a big piece on like a starting point. I feel like you only got, well, a lot of people say you only live once. It's really, you only die once. You live every day. So it's, why waste today? If you can go ahead and plan this stuff right now, let's go ahead and plan it. Let's go ahead and put this motion into place. Go ahead and get that EIN on the IRS website. Whatever it is, go ahead and take that leap of faith. But you will know when it's the right time. Pray about it, whatnot. But from a financial standpoint, it goes back to, making sure you have that proper cash that you may want, just in case especially if you're not living by yourself. If you have a family, you're the breadwinner, you may not want to take a big leap of faith and you don't have some kind of emergency fund or so. So I think it's very important to make sure that you have some kind of cash, but you don't totally have to be debt free, but you also don't have to go into a business and go get a big debt, big line of credit either. You can also go into the business and have some success early, kind of get your feet wet, and see if you even need a line of credit, because there are many businesses out here that can operate off cash being generated.
Wonderful. That's big there. Hop in there, Darlisa. What do you think?
I agree 100% with Jamal. I'm just going to kind of put an example out there, and I hear this
Right.
all the time, especially since the pandemic. A lot of times people assume that there is funds available for them to start this business, right? So going back to that,
Mhm.
if you're debt free, should you be debt free, all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to say this: if you're in debt, that's fine because we've all had issues in life. However, don't look to business and business funding opportunities to pull you out of that rut simply because there were some patterns and some behaviors that got you in debt. So when you go and you're looking to start a business, the goal shouldn't be to find a pot of money to help you start a business because you have this great idea. Well, so does a lot of other people. And so what makes you think that because you have this great idea that someone is going to fund that for you? That's just like coming to any one of you guys and saying, hey, can you give me $20,000? I really just need it, and I promise you I'm going to do well with it. But you haven't managed your life up until that point. So do you have to be debt free to get a business started? Absolutely not. However, if you have not, and I go back to what we were first talking about, if you have not decided and taken action steps to remedy that debt situation, starting a business is not going to solve that problem. And like Jamal said, don't look at it like it can't be a situation where that's going to fix it. If you're in debt, figure out the way to get yourself out of debt and how having that business can help that. But don't look to the business to get you out of debt because that is probably not going to be the best return on whatever investment you think you're going to put in it.
Nice. Carlton, I see you over there nodding. Give us some
Oh, I'm
wisdom.
nodding, and I
Yes,
thought you were going to
sir.
bring Mark in, and my head is about to explode because I
Absolutely.
agree and disagree simultaneously.
Oh, this is good.
There's a there's a there's a fact that exists, and it may be about 99%
All right.
accurate. And that is, you'll never find a heavyweight champion of the United States. You never find a heavyweight champion of the world that came from a well-to-do family. You'll never find it. They came from the gutter. They came from the streets. They came from the worst of the worst. And what made them heavyweight champions is that drive, that tenacity, that I won't quit. I'm going to get there. And when you're an entrepreneur, that's the magic right there. You have to have that. Regardless of where you are, you can have a 300 credit score. You could be $100,000 in debt. You could be bankrupt. You could be on child support. You can be living under a bridge. But if you find a solution to a problem and you put that tenacity and that motivation and that energy and that desire and that passion behind what you're doing, someone's going to see what you're doing and they're going to align with that. Right. So again, I haven't even mentioned money yet. You're taking the actions and the steps to move forward and to produce this solution, to provide the solution. As you're providing the solution, Damon John speaks about this often. As you're providing the solution, you start generating revenue. Now, to Jamal's point and Darlisa's point is, if you don't know how to manage money, then the first time you get $10,000 in your hand, you're going to go buy a brand new used Mercedes so you look the part, right? So I want to talk about that too. People say you have to look the part. Well, here you go. I'm in a t-shirt and a jacket, and I walk around in jeans, and Darlisa sees me like this all the time. People are like, well, why are you not suit and tied? You go into a meet? Because that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm going to be me all the way through. They're going to hear me all the way through. If they like me, they're going to connect with me. If they don't like me, it's not because I didn't have on the right shirt or the bow tie like Jamal, right? It's they didn't like me as the person. So if I'm growing my business and I have that energy level and I'm pushing, credit, money, nothing can stop you, right? Funds is really a gasoline on a fire. once you get moving. I remember when I started the business, and Darlisa knows when I started way back in 2016. She was one of the first people I spoke to at the SBA, and she gave me some amazing advice that helped me change my direction. And one of the things that I took after I thought about all of the things that she and I talked about was, Carl, you don't need no money. And so I started thinking, wow, how do I do this? So I went to the thought of Jamal. I'm going to build a team around me. So I'm going to get the people that can do the things that I can't do, and we'll share in this. And there's this misnomer that I hear too, and I want to hear from Mark on this. There's this misconception about building a business, and everyone says, and you hear it on Shark Tank all the time. Well, I don't want to give away my equity. I don't want to give away my equity. I don't want to give away my equity. I don't want to give away my baby. I don't want to give away my business. Point in case. Mark Zuckerberg, owner of Facebook, owns 22% of Facebook. He's a billionaire. Stop holding on to something that has no value, right? Your equity in the company is not valuable until it has value at the exit, or if you go into an IPO, or if you start selling later. But right now, it's a way to get people to partner with you and show that you're willing to share what you're working on, and they're going to put in the same amount of energy of you. And if they don't, then that's not your partner. That's not the person you want to work with. If they don't see the same passion, the same vision, the same motivation, then you don't want to partner with them. And in that, I'm speaking from my own experience. We built a $2.5 million software with $0, zero,
Wow.
not a penny put in, right? And it's because we talked to 14, 15, 16 programming companies, but the one that heard what we said and resonated with it was said, I'm going to be a partner with you. No, we'll build forever. They've been building on our program for 6 years straight. Darlisa is a witness to that. 6 years straight, they've been building on our platform for us. Not $1 shared out. Not $1 shared out. And so this is if you have the energy, no matter what you have. I wasn't working at the time. I didn't have a nest fund of money buried somewhere. My credit score stunk. And I was not in a position that most people say, man, you're out of your mind. But that didn't stop me. And that motivation still continues to drive me, which is now I have a TV show. Like, how did that come up, Carl? Because of the energy and the motivation and the drive, people are going to feel like that. They're going to resonate with that, and they're going to ride with you. Darlisa started her thing out in Richland. Soon as she started it, people started lining up to get in line with Darlisa because they felt her energy. And so that's what energy is, the currency to me.
Wow. Love that. Love that. Energy is the currency. Mark, I see you over there smiling. I see you over there nodding. I know you got a lot you want to get out. Give us your thoughts around that. Give us your thoughts.
Just a little bit. There's so many different ways to start a business. And so just to answer the question, no, you don't have to be debt free. And it's okay to go into debt to start a business. So there's so many different ways. And like Carlton said, giving up some of the equity in your business is perfectly fine if that's what's going to make your business grow. 50% of $1 million is better than 100% of zero. And so if you need to partner with some strong partners, some strong vendors, suppliers, other companies to help you to see your business succeed, then that's what you have to do. I remember this one company I worked for, it was a logistics company, and I was in charge of sales and marketing. And when I realized that they had given up 40% of the business to one of their partners, I was kind of dumbfounded. I was like, are you guys ever going to buy them out? Are you comfortable giving 40% of your profits away every single month? And they're like, absolutely, because they're the ones who helped us to get started. They're the ones who are, have skin in the game, and they want to see us succeed. So we are perfectly happy sending that 40% royalty check to these partners because we're in this together. And so it's just different ways to look at the business as to the equity, the funding, the debt. But don't be afraid of debt, guys, because especially in this environment where debt is so cheap, again, would you rather borrow at a 3%, 5%, whatever rate, and turn that into a 20% rate of return on that money, or save and save and save and save so that now you're debt free and you're using your own capital when capital is pretty cheap right now? So there's lots of ways to get it going. Talk to people and see what options work best for you.
Wonderful. That works. I mean, this is some great content, definitely some great content. That leads me to this next topic. We want to talk about funding, right? So we talked about energy and effort as the currency. We talked about money from Carlton's perspective being the fuel on the flame. But let's say someone is at a point where they have that business plan. Let's say they do have that initial investment and they have that effort. Let's talk about what types of funding is available, once you actually have the strategy and the plan in place to get ready to move. Darlisa, take us through just some funding options that you're knowledgeable about that you can share with the audience in ways that they can start to resource and look up for themselves.
Awesome. So great question. So there's an assortment of funding options out there. And I will say when the pandemic hit or COVID-19 hit, it kind of changed the spectrum just a little bit. So it's a little different now from my world. But I would say if a business owner is, set, ready, and kind of, doesn't have a lot of credit or capital, start with a line of credit, right? And kind of help build that momentum so you can get into the habit of knowing what that revolving window looks like, how you're paying into your business, how you're strengthening your business. But if there is an opportunity for you to get some fundings, you do have things like SBA loans where the requirements are a little less stringent. You do have some of the community based lenders or CDFIs that look for smaller minority type companies that are willing to work with you to give you a nice amount of money to see how you handle it, right? So I would say as a rule of thumb, don't look to get a big lump sum of money that you can't manage or that your business is not going to sustain. Kind of like what Mark mentioned, the good debt. So, if it's a $25,000 loan that can help you put some cushion in your business or something like that, be okay with that until you're able to build up to maximum types of fundings. But as I mentioned, you have a lot of the community-based banks. They have products that are really good for startup companies, and they could come in the form of lines of credit or small dollar loans. If your credit or that kind of thing is a challenge, you do have organizations like Lift Fund, People Fund, those kind of organizations that work with the smaller companies that have some challenges. What I do caution is that you be careful that whatever funding product you go for, it doesn't put you backwards. So don't be in a position to where you need a certain amount of money, let's say, for example, $50,000, and they only give you, say, $40,000, but the interest rate is so high that now you're not able to satisfy what you need to do because now you're paying this high amount on this loan. So I would just say research it, see what options work best, and don't be eager in your decision because there are some really good resources and options out there for startup businesses.
Wonderful. That's some great feedback. That's some really good feedback. I know, Mark, you talked a lot about funding and being able to access it, whether we get a loan, which we have to pay back interest immediately, or if we get a line of credit, then you can just draw down and just pay interest on what you actually take out. Walk us through some different options that you were able to take advantage of early on in your career that could be beneficial to our audience in regards to funding.
Yeah, the first thing that you have to realize is your personal credit score is just that. It's your personal credit score. So it's what's going to help you to get in the door at a bank, but you need to start working toward your business credit as well. And so once you can establish your business credit, you'll have access to lines of credit. I've taken out lines of credit just so that you can have easy access. You've done the application once. Now you have an easy access, on a monthly basis to go dip into it, pay it back, dip into it, pay it back. And then, I've also taken advantage of SBA loans, bank loans. You have to realize, though, that you have to have a good plan in place in order to qualify for those. it can't just be, hey, I'm a nice guy and you know, I know some people. They want to look at what's the cash flow, what's the profit look like, what experience do you have, who do you have helping you? They're looking at all of that. You know, we look at Shark Tank and you see these people getting up for like 5 minutes. Those guys prepared for days just to get that 5-minute pitch. And it's no less than what you would need to do when you're going to pitch yourself to get that loan. So there, like they said, there's SBA loans, there's business loans, there's friends and family, which I don't know if I would recommend. But then business partnerships, you know, is a way to do it as well. So if you have a will and you have that passion, like the panelists have said, you can find a way. Don't let the money be the thing that stops you, because you can find some money with a great idea and great passion.
Wonderful. Don't let the money be the thing that stops you. I saw you lift your hand up, Jamal. Go ahead and take a stab at it. Give us some of those thoughts.
Yeah, I'm right there with Mark. Like, I think it's important to make sure that you have that plan of action. Like, it's I know we're talking about, you know, getting that funding, and we're throwing that, you know, bringing in these lines of credit or so, but I also don't want someone to hear it and then go get into more debt and hurt themselves, because they're like, we talk about mentorship. One of my personal mentors started a company, cash, and never took a business line of credit until they needed an actual headquarters. That's the only time they pulled a business line, and it was for 800 grand. But eventually they turned around and sold the business for 200 million. You know, so there are different strategies, but it comes from a plan, and that plan of action, like what Mark was saying, you may need, depending on what you're doing, you know, that, and Carlton touched on it earlier. You just got to go sell something. You know, like, you can't plan too much. You can't depend on this big line that is going to keep saving you, or you got X amount of limit that you can just, if things to get better. Like, you really need to go ahead and have that plan of action and be strategic on how you're going to utilize this. And I feel like as kids, we probably felt a little closer to the Flintstones, but now we're getting into the Jetsons. And as we look forward,
Right.
the Jetsons is all that we need to be looking at. I mean, we still have cars or so, but we got people in about 10, 15 years, we might see some people walking on Mars. So how do we prepare for that? And even as technology opens, the world's going to get faster, the world's going to get smaller. And we have things like crowdfunding and things like people can invest in you themselves. You know, you have loved ones, but I mean, people can literally chip in online these days for your business. But if you're going to be, you know, raising all this cheese, what are you going to do with it? If you're going to bring somebody in that's going to be a partner in the partnership, you're giving away this equity. Why are you giving away this equity? What are they bringing to this business? Don't just give your equity away because somebody's going to write a check. So it's like, you do want to have that strategy. You do want to have that game plan, but also set these implementation goals in time frames. That way you can make sure that you're keeping up with what you need to do for your business and that growth.
Love that. Love that. I know, Carlton, you talked a lot about the balance, talked a lot about having that effort, having the plan, having the strategy, and being able to manage it in a productive way. But in regards to this question about funding, it's very interesting that you've been able to build a business, $1 million business, without having to take out funding and lines of credit, but be able to have that pitch and create resources from community. So talk a little bit about, from the funding perspective, why was funding not a primary for you? And how did you get to the point to say, you know what, even if I didn't get $1, I'm going to see it through to get other people to believe in it, to bring their own funds and resources to be able to support your business?
Oh, very good question. And again, Darlisa was such a great advisor and mentor when I was getting started about picking the right team members and making sure that people that were coming on my team actually added value, and it wasn't just another face to say, oh, I got another team member, right? I wasn't just filling my dugout with players. I was filling my dugouts with Michael Jordans and Kobe Bryants the whole time. And so I think what made me stay away from trying to go get funding realistically is because I decided to build this business because my partner and I were sales consultants for a financial company who specialized in helping small business owners build their business credit and then go get funding. And what we learned is 8 and 9 months after these people were getting these fundings, their businesses were still failing. We were still getting phone calls saying that they couldn't pay back the loans, they misappropriated the money, whatever, right? And that hit home for me because I remember when I was youngster and my family's business failed, how there was a strife between my uncles and my cousins and my aunts and my nieces and nephews. And so we couldn't hang out anymore. And that impacted me in a negative way. So as I got older and started getting into business, I thought I was doing something great by being in the funding side, where helping business owners get funding and get credit. But then I realized that, Mark Cuban says it best. Capital doesn't make your business better. Funding doesn't make your business better. That doesn't cure the problem. Sales cures the problem, right? So many business owners set out to go get money to say, I want a business. And then the first thing you ask them, what are you going to do with that money? They're going to, I'm going to pay myself $75,000 a year. And you're like, well, wait a minute. You only need 100,000. Well, I only need 25,000. And I think part of this is we don't get into the business and start walking through to start realizing what we actually need. And so some business owners, they build out this elaborate castle, right? Instead of starting with a shack, they build out this elaborate castle. Oh, I'm going to need AWS and I need 5 phones from my friends and I need 10 TVs and 2 double monitors on my desk and I need a whole studio and I need the high quality equipment. And it's like, no, bootstrap it. If you had $0, what would you do? And if they work that and they run through that and they start generating money, that's when, like Mark said, you can go to people for funding and then they're going to go, let me see your cash flow. Let me see your profit and loss statements. Let me see what you do. One of the first things they ask you on Shark Tank is, how long have you been in this business and how much sales do you have? Not how much money did you raise. That normally comes up later and that normally knocks all of them off their seat, right? It's how much have you committed? Oh, well, we made $1,000. Why are you here? You haven't proven that your business works. You haven't proven that there's a market for it. And it doesn't prove that you have a sales strategy for it. So you're really not in business. You're looking to get money, like Darlisa said, you're looking to get money to get in business. You don't get money to get in business. You get money to scale business. And there's a difference in that. And I think that goes back to the financial literacy question you asked at the beginning. If you don't understand financial literacy, then profit and loss statements, ROI, as Mark was talking about, a 2% to the 20% ROI and an 18% spread. If we're losing you in this dialogue, then that means we need to get the financial literacy components down so you can implement this thing as you grow. And for me, bootstrapping was the way, and that meant only getting what I need. Well, Carl, why don't you use this? Well, I'll use the trial version. Yeah, but it's just $50. I don't have $50. So I'm going to use the free trial version of this until I got more than 500 people coming into my site. Okay, then I'll pay $9 a month. Carl, why won't you do the $150? It's not as much. I have $9. I made $10. I'll give up $9, but I'm not trying to go. And that's the mindset. Don't go out and try to build this elaborate model of what you want. Darlisa knows this. Darlisa's probably laughing because when she met me, we were building this Bentley of a program. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you ever taking that to market? And I'm like, because we want it to be so right. She's like, take that thing into the market and go prove it. And so here we are.
Right. I love that. I love that. Go ahead, Darlisa.
And I just want to just comment on that. Like, most lenders don't want to lend to you when you need it. They do want to lend to you once you've done everything that Carlton said. Like, that's the whole principle behind it. They don't want to give you funds when you're in desperation. They want to help you sustain and grow. So that was just spot on. Just wanted to add that.
Wonderful, wonderful. This has been a great conversation, great dialogue, you all. We have about 8 minutes left. I do want to give you all an opportunity to speak about specifically your time here today and how people can connect with you as we wrap up. So go ahead. I'll start with you, Jamal. Tell us, how can people reach out to you or give us some closing remarks from your end, words of advice, things of that nature?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about business ownership, and I'm a guest for the Collin County Black Chamber of Commerce. And I think that the root of this conversation is ownership. I mean, if we got four hands in the air and counted back the decades, we can reach a point where we didn't even own ourselves. So I do believe that true ownership is a very key thing, especially as we head into this Jetson age where, you are starting to see more rent, more resources going away, prices jacking up. I think it's very important for us to create these game plans, create this generational wealth. And we talk about a lot of this creation, but then there's also points on like, how do we get out of the business? How do we do installment sales? How do we protect our partners? Do we, make sure that you have things like buy sale coverages or buy sale agreements, key person strategies? How do you build your team? How do you perfect your team? How do you make them the best they are? How do you live by this principle, live and die by this? I think that's a lot of the stuff that we probably didn't get a chance to get into. But folks like ourselves and others that you can surround yourself with, I think that's where we can actually be, true assets. So to contact me, I'm out in Brentwood, Tennessee. My website is Pride Financial, so it's pride-financial.com. Plenty of things on there where you can just reach us via email or so. Full contact is on there, and we'd love to help anyone that needs help. We're all in it for passing this generational wealth, and that's what we're gonna do. We've been doing it, we're doing it, and we're gonna continue to do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mark, give us some last words and how can people contact you or your firm?
Hey guys, one last closing statement I want to make to you is a lot of times, especially when I was in the franchising world, is I would see people going into business by basically trying to buy themselves a job. And so I think the more you can put that owner hat on every day of, I need to figure out how to work on my business, not just in my business. And so, because again, this is your baby, this is your business, this is your legacy that you're trying to build and drive. The more you can, again, think as you're the leader, you're driving this business. You're not just flipping the burgers, brewing the coffee, like we said earlier with Starbucks. You got to figure out, how do I find the best real estate? How do I find the best people? How do I find the best processes? How do I find the best blah, blah, blah to help make your business thrive? And so the more you can think of yourself as an owner, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, not as a employee in this business, I think that the sooner you will find success. Is one of the things that I saw many people make mistakes, because we've thrown out some stats that are a little scary. I can't remember, Carlton, what you said of like 72% of businesses don't make it to year 2 or 5 or whatever. I mean, it's scary, but there are people who make it. It's
Right.
okay to fail and get right back up and try again.
Absolutely.
And surround yourself with smart people to help you along the way. So for me, our business is Momentum Wealth Strategies. You can reach us at momentumws for wealthstrategies.com. Our contact info is out there. I love helping people look at their business, partner with them, give them contacts that might help them. So feel free, if there's anything you think I can do to help, reach out. Be glad to help in any way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark. Darlisa, what about you? Last words, and how can people connect?
So this has been amazing. Like, this is exciting. These kind of conversations always just get me hyped. So now I think I'm going to have to like go to the gym. But I will say that I want to leave this thought. So being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. However, entrepreneurship can be accessible to anyone that is willing to put in the work and is willing to understand that it is a process. It is not a turnkey. It is not a microwave. It is not something that you're going to walk into one day and you're going to become an overnight success. I don't care about trending. I don't care about TikTok. I don't care about any of that other stuff.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is a process at the end of the day. So either you're going to hit hard at the beginning of the process and you're going to fail at the end, or you're going to fail in the beginning and you're going to hit it hard in the end. At the end of the day, if you are willing to put in that work, surround yourself with knowledge, surround yourself with those mentors, and form that posture that, yes, I can do this, and not wait for people to give it to you and not wait for the handouts. Entrepreneurship is available to anyone that is able to put in the work. For us, we are the North Texas Entrepreneur Education and Training Center. And I will say that we are the first privately funded, privately owned, Black owned, woman owned business service organization in the FW Metroplex. And we get fought tooth and nail. Prior to the pandemic, no one understood what it was that I was trying to do. But when that pandemic hit and people didn't understand what a performer was, people didn't understand what a cash flow statement was, and people didn't understand, like, well, how can I qualify for the PPP? Why am I not eligible? Because these other organizations are telling people they're helping them, and they really weren't.
Right.
So, North Texas Entrepreneur Education and Training Center is who we are. We are found on any social platform, NTEETC, and that's .com. You can go to our website, and I encourage you, contact us. I'm a fun person, but I'm going to tell it to you straight. I don't mind telling you that your baby is ugly, but I will give you a hug afterwards. That's just me. So,
Keep
looking
it
forward
real.
to connecting further.
Wonderful, wonderful. We got 2 minutes left. So Carlton, send us off.
All right, I'm going to say this
last
really
word.
quick. And I always start my conversations like this. The one thing that an entrepreneur never gets when they get ready to start a business is a step-by-step manual that will guide them from A to Z. It doesn't exist. Life cycle stages in a business has been theory since 1856. We have taken and re-engineered that life cycle stage to a practical step-by-step guide that walks a person from seed stage all the way through the exit of their business. And you can get access to that at pillar5.com. Go there, take an assessment on your business, find out what life cycle stage your business is in, and then you can begin doing the steps by steps. Part of those steps is financial literacy, marketing, management, credit, infrastructure. These are all pieces. And by no means does one person have to master all 5 pillars of a business. They need to support themselves with experts that are masters in those. And even in that, you still want to get to the mentors and the coaches that can break those building blocks down into bite-sized pieces, like Darlisa does at her NTC training, at the NTEC training, where you can go in and get that microscopic look at how do I do this, and so that you can do it right, and so that you continue to grow your business. And please join us on Mondays. We're on the the Better Your Business show, which we do live on Facebook and on YouTube at I Do Systems. That's IDUE Systems. And again, go check your assessment at pillar5.com, pillarfive.com. And I am on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out most of the times. You may see me throw up stuff in Facebook, but my primary place of hanging out with the other experts is on LinkedIn. And by all means, Carlton Hoskins with a K. And yeah, I could do the dance too. So connect with me anytime. I'm always interested in helping people grow their business.
Wonderful. To all of my panelists, thank you so much. Thank you to the audience. Thank you for tuning in for our event, Stay Woke, Not Broke. Remember, dreams are only dreams until you make them a reality. I'm going to leave you with one quote and we're gone. It's by Mark Victor Hansen. He says, "Don't wait until everything is just right. It will never be perfect. There will always be challenges, obstacles, and less than perfect conditions. So what? Get started now. With each step you take, you will grow stronger and stronger, more and more skilled, more and more self-confident, and more successful. So go in peace, be financially free, and stay woke, not broke." Have a good one, everyone.